Okay, have we got sound? Take 1, 2, we have sound. Excellent. Third attempt, but we get there in the end. So I had a meeting on WhatsApp this afternoon uh, with a philosophy group that I'm part of, and I think the WhatsApp takes over video and voice, which means that when I try to use Podbean in the evening, I can't get any sound. Anyway, that's a minor issue. I want to talk about the philosophy group anyway, because I had quite a long discussion this afternoon about dowsing. And I was trying to explain to people the importance of dowsing. And well, when I say dowsing, I mean muscle testing / dowsing / that type of thing. Immunix is part of that as well, but it's a slightly different set of assumptions. So the important thing is to know what your assumptions are. I don't have any problem with the assumptions that people make. It's up to them, but know what they are is my general advice. Because if you don't know what your assumptions are, you could be creating anything. And I really think that it's important to know what's being created. Right now, I'm confused because I've just got a text message about an appointment that I had 21 days ago, which is weird. I don't know why that would be happening. Welcome, Sava. Talking about imagination creates reality in a kind of general sense. So based on the work of Neville Goddard, it's his book that these principles come from. Yeah, manifestation, exactly. So if you want to come up and have a conversation, you're welcome to do that. All right? Feel free to call in and have a conversation. Hey,
Hi.
hello, it sounds like my timing was good tonight.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Happy Saturday. I don't know what time it is where you are.
It's 20 past 10 in the evening, so it is still Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, it is, let me see, 3:21 on the West Coast in the afternoon, of course, America,
All right. Are
US.
you California or are you?
I'm like in the Pacific Northwest, so not quite California, but I don't say what state I'm in
That's
just for safety reasons. Yeah,
yeah,
West
that's fine.
Coast, just say West Coast.
Right. To be honest, I don't really care. I was just asking for something to say.
Yeah, no, I know. I've been online for quite some time. I've talked to a lot of people on lots of different platforms, and I've just learned to just be a little bit private about some things. Yeah. I've been on Telegram. That's the most dangerous platform, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is.
Have
You're
you been
right.
on there?
It is. Yeah, I got scammed on Telegram.
Uh-oh.
So I've got this thing going on. Somebody, actually, it was WhatsApp. Somebody messaged me on WhatsApp about a
Uh-huh.
job, just randomly, just like a random number. And I stupidly struck up a
Right.
conversation with them, and then they transferred me to somebody on Telegram. And I agreed to
Mm.
do this job, which was liking TikTok videos, and they were going to
Huh?
pay me money or whatever.
Oh, like a click farm, like a
Yeah,
click agent, right?
yeah, yeah,
Oh my.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I know, but in the end, I agreed to do it. So I did one video. I was kind of testing them because that was suspicious. So I did one video. They sent me £5, but
Oh wow.
the the account they sent the £5 from was flagged as money laundering,
Oh my.
which means that
Interesting.
my account is now flagged for money laundering.
Wow. That's sneaky.
Yeah, which means I'm locked out of my bank account. I can't use it
Oh, oh my. For how long?
forever. They're going to close it down.
How much did you lose?
I didn't lose anything. I gained £5.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you got scammed, like you got like they somehow got a hold of your money as well in the process by closing
No,
down your
no,
account.
no. But by paying me, they'd set me up as a money laundering account.
Oh man.
So it's my own
Yeah,
fault.
that's
It's my own fault for saying yes
yeah.
when they were offering me this job. But I thought, all right, it's going to be money.
Unsolicited.
Yeah, totally
It
unsolicited.
was yeah. Yeah, see, that's where you got to draw the line with communications online. If it's something comes to you unsolicited, then you got to definitely be careful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've learned that, but in the meantime, I've
Yeah.
got no access to my bank account, so I'm making do with cash, which is fine because I like cash anyway. But
Mm.
I'm gonna have to get to the bank and take a lot of money out in one go, and then just store it somewhere.
Are you from Ireland?
The north of England.
Okay.
Well, my
How are things there?
oh, not too bad. I mean, I've got my own kind of personal issues going on, some health issues, but apart from that, it's pretty much okay over here. I
Hmm.
mean, Newcastle upon Tyne, so it's prime tourist season now, so we've got loads of people around.
Okay. Well, how's the migration there?
It's just normal. It's like we've got a couple of areas of town that are Asian.
Okay. So you're not experiencing the things that the UK or Ireland is experiencing currently,
I
or
think
Sweden, or was it?
a lot of that's propaganda.
Yeah, I figured as much. Yeah. However, given my personal experience here in America, it it's becoming easier and easier to fall for that if it isn't true, that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I see all the anti-Islamic like stuff online, and I'm like every Muslim I've ever met's been lovely.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Well, there's only a certain percentage of them that are extremist. And that's the ones that cause the phobia, supposedly, I guess.
uh,
However, I can say in my area, the Muslim community is rapidly on the rise. Like most of my coworkers are suddenly Muslim, and I've never experienced this volume in my area, at least. Not that it's a bad thing, but just saying, like, those different parts of the, I guess, information that you might hear is true. They're definitely in volume on the rise. Sorry.
yeah, but if they're good people, it doesn't matter, does it?
No, the only thing is they're trying to create communities in which they are governed by Sharia law. If you know anything about Sharia law, it's highly controversial, especially in the US of A. Because USA is prides themselves on freedom, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms, and so on and so forth. So the very idea of such a constrictive and oppressive to women Sharia law is highly controversial, and a lot of people have a very healthy fear of it in America.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear of foreigners generally, though. I think in America.
No, that goes beyond what I'm saying. Specifically about Sharia law, though, that is feared, and I would say I have a healthy fear of that. A phobia is an unhealthy or unfounded fear, but this is a real thing that has real fears, and I would say they're pretty just, the fears, that is, of it. But I mean, beyond that, I mean, that's a whole nother story, whole nother topic.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things in the states that are fairly controversial at the moment.
I agree. Yep, absolutely. Hmm.
So I mean,
Yeah, we got the whole wokeness thing.
yeah, we've got a lot of that over here, but it's calming down a little bit now.
Hmm.
So we had
Do you know
a
the history of Do you know the
uh,
history of wokeness and
well,
Marxism and stuff like that?
I know it's kind of based in the Frankfurt School from the 1920s.
Okay. So, but you don't know about its its play or its role in, say, World War I or II. I can't remember. Whatever happened in Germany before that, even in Russia, the Marxism movements. It's okay if you don't. I mean, but I won't get into it if you don't know about it. So that's why
I'm,
I asked.
I kind of know enough, but I don't associate wokeness with Marxism.
Oh, okay. I do personally. just based on what I've learned between each of the two, I've connected some dots, but that's just from my perspective.
I mean, yeah, there's some cultural manipulation going on, and there's some postmodern ideas going on in there, and there's all sorts of like kind of strands of thought just merged together. But it's not necessarily
Hmm.
it's to do with human rights as much as anything else. It's just been taken to an extreme level.
Right. Well, there's human rights, and then there's using the idea of human rights and weaponizing it in order to gain political stance
Yeah, I mean, if that's
is what I'm
that,
witnessing.
but that's it. Seeing, well, there's an element of that. There's obviously potentially a group of people that are doing that, but I don't think the majority of people who buy into it are doing that.
No, I agree. I think that the majority of the people are buying into it for their own moral reasons. They just don't know what's really behind it. They don't know the history of it. And a lot of them, honestly, I can't really speak for them because I'm not them and I'm not really like most of them. But I think that a lot of them are unaware of the circumstances that they're actually playing into. They don't see the damage
Yeah, you're
that
right.
it's doing.
You're right. But then there's potentially damage on the right wing as well at the extremes. So if you
Oh,
build them,
absolutely. I agree. Whether you're left wing or right wing, I mean, if you choose a side, you automatically lose. Basically, you're being sucked into it. Choosing either side is wrong in my eyes. There is a side aside from all the sides where you could just stand back and watch the whole thing, see the bigger picture. You know, whether you choose the right or the left, I mean, it's beyond that. It's more than that. You're looking too closely at the picture and not getting the full spectrum of what's really going on when you choose a side.
yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I try and take as neutral a stance as I possibly can because you never know with these things. It's a cycle. So we might need to go to one extreme to then pivot back into the middle.
Right. Definitely aim for the middle. Everything else is additional, and learning to be neutral but also active in seeking the correct information and just being open to new information and being mature enough to, change your views on things as the information comes in is very critical to being the true neutral. Like, but you can't just be like, not knowing of anything. You got to look into both sides, unfortunately. So it's extra work, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. And
Definitely not for the lazy.
it's quite difficult to walk the tightrope and stay as an observer or stay as a neutral party, and then pick your battles when it's absolutely necessary. I think, but I try and
Mm-hmm.
stay kind of as an observer a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. It's a messy process coming into a voice about all of it, really, because you got to do your own research. You have to have discernment, and then you have to have, the wherewithal to articulate well enough to talk about these things in a cordial manner without, like we're doing, like we're having a very adult conversation. Most people can't do that, especially when it comes to religion or politics.
Oh, I try and do religion and
Mhm.
politics as much as possible, but I try and do them in a fairly civilized way.
Yeah, and I personally believe that politics religion is one thing, but politics, everyone should be able to have a voice. And I think that the long standing trend that I've seen in society is that it's becoming more and more unpopular to speak your mind about politics. And now it's becoming a warlike act to speak on politics. It shouldn't be like that. It should be amongst the people to be talked about freely and honestly in a setting that is safe and open, because it's for all of our benefit, because we're all in this together, and people lose sight of that when they choose sides.
Yeah, freedom of speech is in everybody's interest when it comes down to it. In the final analysis, if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have anything really.
Yes. And, the thing with the freedom of speech thing, the thing that's going on here in America is they're coming up with these false flags in order to create this. So they're creating scenarios or stories where, they're making it sound like, certain speeches, certain words or topics are harmful to people's safety, right? Like that, like it's harming people. Like people are getting attacked in the streets, and they say, "Oh, well, they're Jewish," and then attacked by Muslims or whatever they might come up with. They're trying every angle that they possibly can to get people to agree that freedom of speech can be changed or restricted. But as I believe that as soon as we restrict any sort of speech, which is why I hate TikTok and I hate social platforms that make you say stuff like unalived or, other words, graped and stuff like that. Like, I think they're very detrimental, because as soon as you start restricting freedom of speech, as soon as you make a law that you can't say anything, even if it's like something really bad, like the N word or like whatever, as long as you're not telling people that you're going to go harm someone, because that right there, that's a warning, right? We should always look into those, right? We should never ignore someone who says they're going to harm another person. But like just, expressing an emotion or whatever, whether it be racist or whatever, because people need to grow the fuck up. Like they can't just go around trying to control everyone around them just so that they can, feel like, like they're manifesting their own surroundings, because we're all sharing the space. But there are people who are just not right in the head, or maybe they're just going through a difficult time or a learning curve in life. We have to be gracious of each other and, allow everyone to express themselves, because as soon as we start taking that away, that's when the true control really begins. Because if we can't communicate to each other, that's like a slave like state of being. And I really think that that's what all of us are headed towards. Or if we're not there already, we're all in a slave like state of being.
Yeah, there's definitely potential for that. And once they get the digital ID stuff in and link it to bank accounts and stuff, we're all in trouble. So I'm not a fan of any of that stuff at all.
Yeah.
But but
Yeah.
it's already happening to me anyway. So
hmm Did you say that you were disabled or you were having some medical issues? Maybe you couldn't work or something?
well, my kidneys failed about a year ago.
hmm
So I'm on dialysis 3 times a week.
hmm
And it turns out I had a heart attack, and then I had a heart valve that wasn't working properly.
Well, I'm sorry.
So
Yeah, that must be difficult.
I've
hmm
had a few things. I sorted the heart problem out, not the heart attack, but the heart valve. My heart valve was working when my left ventricle, I think it was working at 25%, and it should have been working at 50%. So I do a bit of spiritual healing stuff, a bit of jiggery pokery that nobody believes works. So I sorted the heart
Yeah.
valve out, got it back up to normal range, which is 50 something percent. And then the consultant's given me the all clear for that. So I managed to avoid statins and beta blockers for the rest of my life for that. And I've got physical evidence. I've got a letter from from the kidney consultant to say that my heart issue's been cleared up. So it's done me no real harm in the long run. I mean, it was annoying because I didn't even know it was happening. And then I got a blood clot on one of my lungs, and that's about to be sorted out as well. But I'm coming off well, I've been on warfarin for 6 months to sort the blood clot out, but I managed to persuade them that 6 months is enough. And they're happy for me to come off the warfarin and just inject myself with another blood thinner when I go for an operation or anything that's high risk. So I'm doing my best to stay off pills as much as possible. But if I end up having a kidney transplant, I'm going to be on pills for the rest of my life anyway. So I'm going to have to get used to it, I suppose.
So did you say that you're into some homeopathic things, like healing things?
Well, spiritual healing, more psychological, but it affects your
Okay.
physical body. It affects your physical body anyway. So
True.
I'm
Yeah.
one of these people where the mind, I take the mind body connection literally. I think they overlap and they're interconnected.
What do you think about these grounding mats that they're coming out with?
I like the idea of grounding. I've been known to take my shoes
Mhm.
and socks off in the park on a reasonably regular basis, but I'm not sure about mats. I'm not sure plugging something into an electric socket. I'm not sure about that. But
Well, there's you know how I don't know about your country, but in my country, there's 3 holes in the input or the inlet, the outlet,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
And so there's 2, and then there's 1 in the bottom, and that's the grounding circuit, I guess. So it's connected to the ground, but there's no electrical charge or currency that goes through there, and that's what it hooks up to. So it's a wire that's grounded, but no electrical charge. And then they connect those to mats and like sheets and stuff with conductive materials like silver or leather.
Is it not just easier to stand on grass with your shoes and socks off from the air?
It's not in some areas. Like for example, my neighborhood, there there are some times during the day or during the week where I feel comfortable going outside with no shoes and socks on. However, most of the time, it's best just to stay in your place or go out somewhere, but not being out on the street.
Right.
'Cause it's a rough neighborhood. There's shootings every day, and so it's yeah. And I don't like to travel. I don't like even to the park like all the time. Like it's an occasional thing for me. I like to be home. It's my sanctuary. So
Right.
I actually have a grounding mat that I keep where I put my feet when I'm like sitting down or even standing up. I'll just be on it as much as I can. I don't know if it's working or not, but hey, if it is working, so be it. I'll take what I can get because I'm getting to the point in my life with my lifestyle that I've lived and my age. I'm 40. I feel like I need to do extra to help my body heal so that I don't become crippled. Basically, I'm trying to avoid being crippled.
All right. Well,
So,
yeah, there's plenty of ways to do that. I mean, all the stuff that I
yeah.
do, I mean, it's a combination of Reiki, Seiki, and a thing called Immunix, which is conscious control of your immune system.
Mhm.
That'll stop you from getting crippled I mean, as a prevention.
I love Reiki stuff. Like I've been looking into it more and more. I just recently got some tuning forks
Right.
and I have one of those Japanese singing bowls, and so I'll do the lotus on my mat, my grounding mat, and I will play with my forks and I'll get that nice nitric oxide going. And I like herbs like cayenne pepper and like fruit. I juice. Do you ever juice, by the way? Do you have a
I have.
juicer?
I've got one in the cupboard, but I don't really use it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, isn't it? It's like a lot of preparation, but I think when you finally get that final product of the juice and you drink some of it, the feeling is amazing. I don't know if you've experienced it like me, but if you get the right ingredients, it's just an amazing energy. And but you can't do it all the time though. It's a lot of work.
I'm not sure I'm allowed to do it anymore anyway, because my kidneys don't function
Oh
properly.
yeah.
So I'm not allowed
Yeah.
concentrate stuff, and I think it'd be too concentrated.
Do you drink tea?
I drink tea. I'm not allowed coffee, but I do drink tea.
What about what is it? Manga? Hold on. I have some in my cupboard, But there's this stuff, it's like a Chinese or some kind of Asian remedy type of tea where it's really good for like your kidneys and stuff. Let me see what it's called. Is Malunga. Malunga tea. You ever heard of it?
Not something I've heard.
Oh, sorry. Moringa. Sorry, Moringa. Moringa. Moringa tea. Yeah, tea, even just warm water is very healing. And do you use baking soda for healing remedies?
I don't. I do psychological kind of healing, spiritual healing, really. I don't use herbs that much. I'm a big
Well,
fan of I'm a big fan of black pepper at the moment. I'm not sure exactly what that's about, but black
black
pepper on
pepper.
everything. Yeah,
Okay. That could be anti-cancer in a sense, pro heart health. Cayenne pepper is definitely pro heart health. But these green teas, these moringa teas, even black tea, I know you can't do any caffeine, you said?
no, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed caffeine.
Not allowed. Okay. So you can, I mean, there might be a little caffeine in tea, but anyways, back to the baking soda. So baking soda is so healing to the body because it alkalizes our body, and one of the leading causes of disease is a high acidic pH in
Yeah,
our bodies.
yeah.
And then also, go ahead.
There's a pH range where you stay healthy, and then anything outside of that, you start to get sick, I think.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Paying attention to your pH could be key to healing for sure. And then also with all the difficulties that you might be going through. Oh, okay. All right. Sam C had something to say about pH down there. But all these difficulties and diseases and everything that your body has been enduring, it might be wise to do something to prevent cancer, because when you get like let's say for example I cut a part of my arm in the same spot, like, and I let it heal and I cut it and let it heal like throughout my life, like long period of time, I increase my chances of getting cancer there, developing cancer. That's how cancer works as far as I've come to understand in my studies about cancer. So we all have cancer cells in our bodies, and there's different factors that can make our bodies have hyperactive cancer cells, like hyperactive healing, if you will, or we might have so much toxin buildup in our bodies that cancer will actually protect our bodies from it by forming a tumor around the toxins.
Yeah,
So one way we can prevent or even turn it around, and many more people are coming out each and every day with their testimonies about baking soda treatment. So what they do at home is, let's say they'll take like a percolator, like a coffee pot percolator. They'll heat up the water, they'll put molasses in it, or something similar to molasses, whatever sugar you might want to use for this. And then they bring it to a boil, they put the baking soda in the molasses water, and then they stir it up, and then when it cools down enough to drink, they'll drink that. So the sugar will escort the baking soda, sorry, the sodium bicarbonate will bind to the sugar crystals. The sugar crystals will escort the sodium bicarbonate to the cancer cells, because the cancer cells attract sugar. They eat sugar. They thrive off sugar. And the pH that is created in the body due to sugar intake. And the sodium bicarbonate will be too alkaline for the cancer cell to survive, so it'll kill the cancer cells. So
yeah,
it's a way that like an extra measure that you can do for yourself that will prevent any cancer complications in the future. But
yeah,
alongside that, you definitely want to help your body detox as much as possible, like taking hot baths, You can even take a hot bath with baking soda and Epsom salt will help detoxify your body. It'll even help detoxify you from radiation that you might be having to endure in your environment. But I'll digress there and let you respond.
Yeah, I like Epsom salts. And the kind of spiritual healing system that I use will sort out cancer anyway for me. So, I mean, if I pick
Good.
anything up intuitively, I can just take it out using that system.
So, are you transcendental, or do you know about transcendentalism?
I've never done any transcendental meditation.
That's what I'm all about.
Right, okay, that's
Um,
good.
yeah.
It connects really nicely with Reiki, so that makes sense.
hmm And it also helps me kind of eh, fortify my grace through life as I approach death. I'm really big on death for some reason. I've always been big on that. Not that I'm suicidal, but just on the idea of it, like the afterlife. Like
Yeah,
it's almost like I'm innately like looking forward to it almost. Not that I'm trying to die or anything. I feel like there is really something to be, I guess, enjoyed in the afterlife, if you will.
yeah, it sounds like you've got some good assumptions going on. Getting back to the manifestation topic,
Uh-huh.
just linking all of these things together a little bit. It's your assumptions that will create whatever happens. So if that's true in life, it's probably true in death as well.
I think that whatever we learn here, whatever we experience here in this lifetime, will be a building block in our afterlife manifestation. Because I believe we will exist in the afterlife. That is, if we don't allow ourselves to be reincarnated. And that's one thing I fear. I feel like I need to avoid reincarnation. But in order to do that, I need to fortify my mind, which will become my transcendental vessel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think our minds are particularly important throughout our lifetime, like our development. And then I think it's the one thing that we actually take with us into the afterlife is our mind.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's like we're packing our bag throughout this lifetime. Whatever we experience and learn and grow through is what we pack into our bag that we take with us after we leave.
Yeah, it's going to your life develops assumptions and intuitions about things and just gives you a way of understanding the world that you didn't have when you came in. So you're going to leave with more a version of understanding of the world that you can then adapts, I suppose, to the next version.
Right. And I think that meditation during this lifetime, like I don't know about you, but I have a meditation garden that I've built throughout the years that I visit frequently and I build more on. I think that is part of the practice of afterlife manifestation because our minds will not only hold the building blocks, but will also be the tool in which we use to build our next existence.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I've got no way to prove it, but I'm pretty sure that sounds like a
Right.
reasonable approach.
Well, so you mentioned proof. So, in order to gain any sense of proof of what the afterlife will entail, we really have to take a close look at what this lifetime is entailing currently, right now. Like, like if you think about it, why are we so eager to learn? Why are we such like as human beings, we're very learny. Like we're studious. We want to learn. We want to explore, and we want to know stuff that we don't know yet, but we might become aware of the possibility of it being in existence, if you will. Like for example, like when I remember being like 4 or 5 years old when my great grandfather died, and I was in a graveyard, like looking at all the graves. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, why am I here? I was like It was all like, why are we alive? How did we get here? How am I here? I became self-aware at that moment. It was such a mind-blowing experience. And I knew there was stuff to be known that we'd never, like people weren't meant to know that they would possibly think they would need to know, if
Yeah.
you will.
Well, the only
So,
way
yeah,
the only way you can understand things sometimes is to experience them.
absolutely. And that's what I believe this lifetime is meant for us to experience things
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that
spiritually.
yeah, some of the things you need to understand, you need a physical body for. So it makes logical sense that you would volunteer to have a physical body, or that some kind of process would develop that would give you that understanding.
It's almost like a glove. Like spiritually we are a hand, but in physical manifestation we are separate fingers, and we, in order to experience each other or experience ourselves even, we need to be separated by a barrier. And that's what this life is. We're basically just fingers in a glove
Yeah, that makes
learning.
it's about boundaries ultimately. It's about having reasonable boundaries that allow for the understanding to happen. Because sometimes
To go
it's
beyond.
yeah, sometimes it's a lack of
Yeah,
boundaries that will provoke the situation that provides the understanding. So you've got to kind of
absolutely.
have both, be prepared to have both, but not be obsessed with one or the other. So not be obsessed with not having being boundless, and not being obsessed with having massive boundaries that keep situations out and people out.
Yeah, that's that's what life is. We just figured it out.
That's good enough for me. Good use of Saturday
Cheers.
night as far as that one's concerned.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you around most Saturdays, or are you around some Saturdays, or?
So I'm the type of person that tends to isolate for very long periods of time for one reason or another. And I love Podbean. I've been coming on Podbean for years. A lot of people on here know me. I believe you and I have spoken in the past.
Yeah, somehow, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have a history. I have a reputation, if you will, for losing my temper, but I also have a reputation for having very deep thought oriented conversations, deep thought exploration. And so I kind of fall far on both spectrums sometimes,
Yeah,
but
all right.
I do my best.
Sometimes you've got
Yeah.
to be triggered to make changes, or to get an understanding. So
Yeah.
it looks like something that's negative, but actually it might be something that's positive in the end.
Right. Right. So yeah, I return every so often. I feel like I'm going to have a stint where I'm going to be coming back more often for a while. But as soon as I get in a relationship, I'm sure I'll be gone for some time or something
All
like
right, you've got a bit of an attachment issue going on.
that. Maybe I have. Yeah, maybe.
I think we've all got that. That's why we're on Podbean and not out in the real world, probably.
Well, I think that because I isolate so much, I I want to start feeling myself going crazy,
Yeah, you've got to.
and I need to actually have a conversation with people. I prefer to do it this way as opposed to going to a bar or going out or like seeking some stranger out to connect with in real life, because everyone always ends up wanting to have sex with me and I'm asexual. So,
That's fair enough.
yeah, it's difficult because human beings are so sexual and I'm terrified of it. I'm terrified of sex. So, I think it's best that I have this barrier, the internet.
Yeah, it's just a conscious boundary. That's fair enough.
Yeah. And I love having very cerebral conversations. And you can have those with people here and there, but they always ruin it with their sexual tendencies. You know what I mean? Like I'll
Yeah,
have such a great conversation with someone And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they make a move or they say something sexual, and I instantly lose all respect for them. I instantly feel like a fool, like I've just been vulnerable to a predator. And it just happens so much that I've become jaded. And so hanging out with people outside of work or outside of my home, like it's just become more and more of a hassle than anything.
Yeah, I understand that. I go through phases myself. Sometimes people, I get to the point where groups of people, like I hang out in a philosophy group. I used to we used to meet in cafes and bars and stuff. I used to
Oh, wow.
run a group in a bar on a Tuesday evening that got quite big at one point. But then it imploded and
Uh,
it became a bit hostile. So that was
oh,
5 years ago.
oh, and that's probably when COVID began. Yep.
Yeah, it was just before COVID
COVID
began.
was more than just a psyop of viruses and all that shite. Like it was way more than that. It played on our psyches. And honestly, very disappointed in the majority of the world, but I get it. I understand why everything has happened the way it has happened. You know about the New World Order, right?
Yeah, I know about the New World Order.
Yeah, that's basically the center. It's the holy grail of everything that's happening. If you can come to understand the New World Order, everything will kind of fall into place, as in making sense of why it's happening.
Yeah, there's certainly some
Um,
manipulation going on. There's no doubt about that.
yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, I think it's become. I think it's because we've become so separated from God as a whole, humanity as a whole. I think we've become so far separated from God. And it's not that God has given up on us. He gave us the tools, but it's of our own doing as a whole, not individual. And at the end of the day, we kind of have to say, well, it is what it is. Perhaps this is just the flow of things. So once you understand that, maybe picking your battles become easier. However, at the end of the day, or at the end of the life, that is, we have to come to terms with letting everything go. Because if we can't let everything go, we'll become tethered to this realm. And
Right.
if you want to be reincarnated and do it again, by all means, go back to the light. Or if not, become the light. That's the bottom. Become the light in the darkness of the unknown and make it familiar.
Yeah, I work on the principle that consciousness is pretty much everything, and consciousness is God, basically.
That's a very transcendental thing to say. I would say if I had to label you, even though you didn't ask me to, I would say you're pretty transcendental yourself. We're very like-minded for sure.
I am to an
Yes.
extent. Right? I like immanence as well as an idea. The idea that everything has a God within it, God,
Hmm.
not God on the outside, God within,
Okay.
and that kind of
So,
makes sense to me.
but do you also believe that there's other things mixed in there besides God? Because, I mean, you can't have a reflection without an existence, right? Like you can't have one without the other or the darkness without the light type of thing, you know?
No,
So
it's
do you
all God.
believe that it's a mixture, a spectrum of good and evil?
No, it's all God ultimately.
Okay. Okay. So
Um,
then at that point, I would want to ask you, sorry, I would want to ask you, like, what is God then? Like, what is God to you? What does it constitute? What does God constitute?
God is kind of a perfected state, I think. So, like the highest level that anybody can achieve, or that's possible. So, for want of a better way of talking about it, because it's difficult to talk about.
Hmm.
Uh, God is the good. So the old Greek idea of the good, truth, and beauty are all manifestations of God.
But that's implying bad and ugly, isn't it?
No, not necessarily.
Well, if you say something that's as good and beautiful, that's implying that there's a bad or a non-beautiful or ugly, desirable versus undesirable, light versus dark.
Well,
How do
desirable
we
versus
gauge?
desirable versus undesirable is a different thing to good versus evil, though.
Well, it's just another example of what I'm trying to convey. Like how can something be in existence without its non-existence in implication?
Well, what you're talking about is the good and the absence of good, or
Okay, so what is the absence of good?
just the absence of good.
Okay, like matter versus non-matter.
Yeah, well, again, that's a value judgment, but yeah, just
Okay. So what's the point in trying or striving or working hard or like if there's just God and good?
because we've got a certain amount of choice, we've got a certain amount of free choice, so you create what you create. So getting back to the manifestation conversation, you create whatever it is you prefer ultimately, but without seeing the other things, how do you know what you prefer?
Well, how do you know what you would prefer if you didn't know what you wouldn't prefer?
So yeah, that's what I just said.
Cheers.
So I think we agree with each other.
Yeah. I
Always good.
honestly, I think your outlook is a bit more optimistic than mine, but it's but at the end of the day, that's the best way to be optimistic and positive. That's for like the way to be for the best outcome in general. So yeah,
Yeah, and
cheers to that.
it's to some extent it's your mood and your approach that sets the level of the manifestation. So if you're living in fear, you're going to get fear. It's like it looks like the fear comes from the outside. It's fear of something, but actually it's just fear that's internal, that's manifesting outside, showing
Hmm.
itself so that you can do something about it. Does that make sense, or is that too?
Like buying a grounding mat as opposed to standing on the sidewalk.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
yeah, standing in a park or whatever.
Or taking the bus to the city park as opposed to staying home.
Yeah,
I, for one, hate taking the bus. I'd rather walk, but if I walk, I could get shot.
right. Yeah, that's another
Oh
thing
my goodness.
I would do.
It's kind of, that's where discernment comes from, though. Your understanding of what is good and bad, what is evil, what is holy, like what's rational, what's irrational. I think knowing fear, it's not the same as living in fear, but having a good understanding of it based on your decisions, your risk taking in life.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
understanding of potential danger that's
mhm,
absolutely fine. That's logical and rational and sensible.
yeah. Or just pure experimentation. Like when I first awakened, this was long before COVID even. I was talking about the New World Order. I was talking about, human trafficking and stuff like that. And, just experimenting, kind of using people as a sounding board, different people seeing what they had to say about it, and then figuring out how to talk about it in an efficient manner that I could get across to certain people. And then it just becomes harder and harder though with certain people, especially the youngsters these days, given their attention spans and all, which I know is for the most part a stereotype, but at the same time, let's be real here.
It is
Not
true.
just It's not just this new generation, it's us too. We are falling victim to it as well. It's and so but just those experimental moments, you don't know whether to fear it or not, but something compels you. And then you learn, fuck around and find out, right?
Yeah, it's just everything. If you put
It's not all
you
bad.
you put your hand in a fire and get burnt, you don't do it the next time, do you? But well, you might do it the next time, but not 3 times in a row.
Yeah, you might try to like do it in such a way that won't burn as much, but you still want to fuck around and find out.
Yeah, that's part of
That's
life.
me.
Yeah, I could take kidney failure as a personal thing, but I'm
Um,
better off just taking it as something that happens and looking at it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to get some evidence that the healing I do works. That's the way that I'm approaching it.
that's brilliant
So it's like I've got some limited
and brave.
mobility, and my life's basically rooted in the hospital. But I'm capable of sorting out lots of stuff myself, and I've never had a way to evidence it. I've never had a way to prove it, and now I've got tests going on all the time, and doctors looking at me and prodding me and stuff. So I've got
Are you
ways of.
keeping a journal?
I'm not, but I'm keeping a podcast of exactly what I'm doing. So that's pretty
Well,
much it. It's all
even though you
documented.
didn't ask for it, I'm going to give you some advice.
Yeah,
Keep a journal, keep an organized journal, whether it be audio or written, but that's the best way you can definitely help people in the future, because in the future you can publish it
yeah,
and people can read it, but not everyone's going to be, at the right time, at the right place to hear it or even have the wherewithal to go find it. But if it's publishable, I think that's the best thing, the best legacy to leave behind. Absolutely.
yeah. Well, my plan was to do it as a podcast and then get the podcast transcribed. So I've got extracts or combinations of things that I've said and thought about that I can put into a
Good.
book at some point.
Very good. I know this lady whose daughter, she's kind of new to TikTok, and she's talking about how her daughter was misdiagnosed bipolar, but then found out years later that she had something called PANS disease. And she wrote everything down on a daily journal, but now she's on the TikTok like telling the story.
Yeah,
And it's such a specific small niche, but it's very interesting to learn about, and the type of people that seek out those kinds of things, to especially to read, those are the kind of minds you definitely want to reach, because those are the people that should be doctors and should, be consultants and stuff like that, like
yeah,
medical consultants or whatever. And personal testimonies are the best way to educate people who would be good for those roles in society, for sure. Personal testimonies are gold. At least they should be.
yeah. At the moment, I've got a meeting with my kidney consult next week, so I'm going to try and negotiate some tests because I've been working on like both of my kidneys failed too, so they were working at 2% of normal rate, so pretty much not working at all really. I mean, they do still function, but they don't function enough to make it
Mhm.
a thing. So I've been working on because the heart valve thing worked. I've been working on my left kidney, so I need to have some kind of was it ultrasound or something like that to see how much more the left kidney's working now than it was this time last year. If assuming it is, if it is, because I'd like to get some evidence that I thought the only way that I can get evidence of what I'm doing working is to work on one kidney and leave the other one alone.
Hmm.
That makes sense. So
In terms of like, do you get injections or any treatments to it or something?
no, it's a kind of mental process, a psychological process to
Oh, I see. So you're shining your attention on it like a light, like you're growing it like a plant.
yeah.
Like if you put the sunlight on the plant, it grows, it heals. Yes,
It sounds a bit
absolutely.
yeah, it sounds a bit weird, but it's a conscious intention, like a decree to your immune system to remove trauma, if that makes any sense. Because obviously
Yeah.
kidney failure is trauma of one sort, or it's a physical trauma of some sort.
But with the mind, you still have a body now. Your mind and body develop alongside each other.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
don't,
Which is why it works.
yes, yes, yes. What do you know about cacao?
Not very much, nothing at all.
So I've been learning about cacao recently, and it's like I use cacao powder to make like cakes and stuff with, and it's supposedly allegedly good for stimulating stem cell the your stem cell counts. It
Right.
increases stem cells in your system. It brings it out of your bone marrow into your bloodstream, which it then goes around your body and repairs anything it needs to repair. Yeah. So look into cacao, look into baking soda treatments
I
and
wonder if I'd be
cayenne
able to,
pepper.
yeah, I wonder if I'd be able
Yeah.
to make a decree to move the stem cells from my bone marrow to my kidneys.
Yeah. By ingesting cacao, it
No,
stimulates that
I can,
transfer.
I can do that mentally though.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Absolutely. But maybe it would help. It would help you hone in on it mentally if you were honing in on it physically by providing those nutrients that allowed for that transfer through the cacao.
Yeah, possibly. I'll see how it goes anyway. I'll try it and see if it feels right.
Okay. Because, yeah, I mean, gosh, holistic medicine is something that absolutely fascinates me. And if I felt like I had the energy and the wherewithal to go through all the schooling that I needed to, I would become a holistic doctor for sure. But we all, at the end of the day, have to be our own doctor. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Absolutely.
Because we can't trust these guys, especially, because they're getting paid for certain things that is not in our best interests. And our insurance companies sure as hell don't care about us, our health.
Yeah,
They care about our
it's
wallets.
personal responsibility as well. It's like it's your body, so you've got to look
Yeah.
after it.
And
Same as
and
you would look after your home, so why wouldn't you look after your body?
exactly. And the placebo effect is one of the it's the element of many, 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 if not all studies that's ever been done on the human body in reaction to ingestion of anything. The placebo effect is living proof that our spiritual healing is possible. Our mental spiritual healing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's a very natural process, so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't use it. Use it to your advantage.
I think that these electronics that we're constantly around in our environments are disrupting that, honestly. It's part of it. Radiation can disrupt a lot of things, a lot of physical and mental, spiritual things.
Cellular level.
When was the last time you went camping away from any electronic or any signal, or even just like stayed home, but like turned off all of your Wi-Fi or cell phone or anything that radiates too much radiation in your home? Like, when was the last time you just sat in that for like good 10, 12 hours?
It doesn't happen very often. I might switch the phone off maybe once a week or something like that.
The last time I went 12 hours in my apartment without the TV on or plugged in, without the router plugged in, and my cell phone was I made a little kind of like a Faraday cage almost, my own little homemade one. I put all my like Wi-Fi signal type devices in there. And for 12 hours, I just sat, as far away from any signal as I possibly could in my place. I'm sure my neighbors had theirs on, but I started feeling things like sensations just in my immediate environment and thoughts and feelings that I hadn't felt since I was a teenager. And it was very nostalgic. And when I turned everything back on, like a few hours later, I was very emotional because I got to feel the transition from that nostalgic feeling back into our current modern day feeling. And yeah, it's very, very impactful. And I think more people should try it out because I think if they did, we might have a chance of kind of taking some steps back from all the fuckery, for lack of a better term, that we're being subject to today.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You've just got to have some awareness of what's going on and have an ability to take a break from it on a reasonably regular basis, I think. But that applies to everything. It applies to like workplace stress. It applies to family stress. It applies to all kinds of stress.
Yeah. I remember the 90s, and I was a teeny bopper back then, but I remember everyone appearing to be quite self-sustained, quite stable in life. We were all just going about life. There was really not many homeless people, at least in my area, and it just seemed like a much, I don't know, it's just a more fulfilling and wholesome time. Like it was more fun, like more energy, more sensation, like just a more positive vibe than it's been turning into up until now.
Yeah, when we've moved pretty much back to the way it was in the 70s when I was growing up, where there's like oil price shocks and inflation and unstable governments and crises all the time and potential for war and terrorism and all of that stuff. That's how the 70s was in Britain.
So do you think a lot of this bullshit has been coming in waves over a period of several decades?
It's a cycle. We had a cycle of instability and war and crisis during the 70s, and then the 80s and the 90s kind of calmed down, and the oil price was stable, and there was less inflation, and people kind of got the opportunity to buy houses and build stuff, and then the financial crisis hits and it goes unstable again. So it'll flip around again. It's a 20-year cycle, I think. I think I might have lost you. Have I lost you?
20 years yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's just more digital and less.
Yeah, I knew digital would be due, but it's taken 40 years to go from analog like albums and singles to CDs and then down to MP3s. And the sound quality's just basically gone to shit. We went from people doing Dark Side of the Moon to people doing like Barbie Girl bullshit and Britney Spears and all that.
Yeah, music, that's a whole nother topic. I'm just talking about how, like, just people's energy fields, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It was just like, okay, so when I walk down the street today, as opposed to walking down the street when I was, say, 14, 15, the air is different. The sun is different. The bugs are different, and just the feel. Even weed is different,
Yeah.
you know. And it's not like, it's like I'm hyper aware of it too. So it's ruining any experience that I attempt to feel that way again. It's not obtainable anymore, really, unless you really pull away from the electronics. It's the electronics and the radio waves and the radiation, basically. 'Cause you know about the Spanish flu? You know the history of it?
I know, yeah, I know a little bit about the Spanish flu.
Do you know about the book The Invisible Rainbow?
Yes, I do.
Did you read it?
I've,
Or did you at least hear about someone who read it?
I've read a little bit of it. I don't think I've read it all. I've downloaded a copy at one point.
Okay, well, it talks about how they were trying to create a study, an experiment where they could prove contagion.
Yes,
And so they took healthy people and took people who had this, what they called the Spanish flu at the time, people who were sick, and they made them make contact in one way or another I won't go into gory details, but they had to make contact with healthy individuals. They even did it in horse to horse, like with horses, because there was sick horses too. And they tried to make these healthy individuals sick through contact. And at the end of their studies, they pretty much came to they proved that contagion is not provable, basically.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not a man who believes in viruses these days at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about it. If you know anything about virology, there's a lot of holes in the plot. There's a lot of holes. And the way that they study infected cells is ludicrous and totally comical if you really look into it. Because that's one of the first things I did when COVID hit and I was stuck in my bedroom with no beer for 2 weeks. That's all I did is just learn as much as I could about virology first and foremost. And I at the end of the day, at the end of my 2 weeks, I'm like, this is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit.
I pretty much came to the same conclusion. It took me a while, but I was kind of, I was, I kind of bought into it for the first 5 or 6 weeks. And I just thought, no, there's something wrong here. Something completely wrong.
The fear was definitely real in people. The fear was real. And it was so real and so strong with so many people that I, for a brief moment, felt it myself. But when I did my research, I was just shaking my head, rubbing my eyebrows, like, how am I going to navigate through all of this?
Yeah, bringing this back to the manifestation question, which is kind of where we start. The whole idea of virology comes from, see, to me, viruses are like a modern scientific version of evil spirits. They don't exist, but they need to exist to explain stuff. So
Well, I think it's just their way of instilling fear in people to control them.
it could be that, or it could just be people are frightened naturally.
Well, if you look at the word viral itself, it means something that is affecting a large number of people at one time, at the same time, right? So like a video can go viral type of thing. So a virus is something, it's just a way to explain something that is affecting many individuals at the same time in a certain area, I guess you could say.
Virus is just Latin for toxin.
Like what?
It's just Latin for toxin.
Okay, yeah.
So all it means is there's something poison in your system. It doesn't mean that there's a bit of protein poison in your system that's adapting itself or anything. It doesn't imply.
Right, and that's what they want us to believe about what's happening with our bodies, with our cells. They want to call that the virus, but really that's just what the cell looks like when it's expressing disease, basically.
Yeah, yeah, they mislabeled it 200 years
Yeah.
ago, and then the belief in the thing that they've mislabeled has produced 200 years of bullshit
Yeah.
that got us to COVID, where we can then get the opportunity to wake up. So that again is a cycle. All of these things run in one direction and then run in the opposite direction. So I don't think any of them are that much to worry about, to be honest. I mean, you might want to fight some of them, and you might want to object to some of them. I'm somebody sometimes I used to stand with a placard on the bridge in the centre of Newcastle with a group of 20 other people with placards. But I wasn't doing it to shout at people. I was doing it to reinforce my belief that everybody's God and is capable of working stuff out for themselves.
Wow, that's very transcendental.
So I was trying to do it from that point of view rather than imposing my point of view on other people. It's just like, all right, I can't tell you what's happening because I can't claim to know, but if we're all God, then everybody should be able to work it out for themselves and has the right to work it out for themselves, whatever conclusion they come to.
Well, I firmly believe since a very young age, like since before I became self-aware, honestly, that there are people in this world who are here and people who are here but not here. That's like the most basic way I can explain it. I agree with you that all human beings are descendants of God. However, I think that we all have a spectrum of it, of the inner God or
Right.
of our abilities.
Yeah, see, I don't really do the spectrum idea. I just think there is always something there that is God. So how that's manifested is another thing. It's like you're born into a particular family with a particular set of genetics, and it's all going to limit what that particular piece of God can do, but it's still God.
The idea that God is all, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The divine foundation of existence and spirituality, right?
Yes, and I'm a bit. I don't suppose I'm a bit extreme, but I think everything is God. Ultimately, it might be wrapped up in a whole lot of bullshit, but it's still coming from God or expressing God, because everything needs to be expressed. So war needs to be expressed sometimes. People need to row with each other to be able to set boundaries and to be able to understand themselves more. So having a row with somebody isn't necessarily an evil thing. So how can having a war with somebody be an evil thing? It's countries setting boundaries based
I
on.
think it's evil that creates war.
Say that again.
It's evil that creates the war.
No, I think it's God that creates the war,
Interesting.
because I don't see how, like, if I'm having a row with somebody, that's setting my personal boundaries in that relationship. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's making things clear. It's getting clarity in the situation. So
Right. It's
war
creating
is
the path.
yeah, war is just politics in another form. So ultimately, war is just getting things clear in a physical form. It's not great if you're in the middle of it, but it's not inherently evil.
So do you believe that there's only one path or is there a right and a wrong path?
There's more than one path, I think. I mean, there's plenty of ways that people express themselves that I don't really like that much, and I wouldn't do myself. But that doesn't make them evil.
All right.
It just makes them a different personality type or a different wanting to express themselves in a different way.
Okay, so you don't think that people are capable of evil?
Depends on your definition of evil. Because I can apply the same logic to genocide if I tried to. I don't really want to, but I could do.
I I would say evil is the intended harm of another living creature, causing pain and harm intentionally
Um,
for whatever purpose or whatever reason, just intentional.
Is that based on the feelings of the other person, or is it based on some kind of objective criteria? So
I would say objectively, intentionally causing harm to another or even to oneself, but definitely specifically to another.
and
Like
somehow
it like not in self-defense, but just for self-gratification.
probably everything is self-defense. So ultimately,
Like if somebody intended to hurt someone and went after that person or creature and intentionally, purposefully harmed them for some kind of sick pleasure.
yeah, all of that's an assumption. It's an assumption that somebody's taking pleasure. It's an assumption that then.
Well,
See,
yeah, I guess assuming that someone is trying to gratify themselves by harming another creature, another living thing, or harming something that would in turn harm living creatures is evil.
so if somebody was trying to satisfy I'm making this as vague as possible because I don't want to get too specific about it. Just to talk
Yeah.
about it. If somebody was to be trying to satisfy a desire or a compulsion or an addiction, and then by doing that, they're harming people around them,
Yeah.
but they don't really have a choice about it, is that evil?
Well, under what circumstance would they not have a choice?
Because they're addicted.
Okay. Well, I guess their addiction in turn would be evil in itself. And that would make them evil.
But it's not intentional, so it doesn't meet your criteria.
Well, let's say they were mentally ill and they couldn't control themselves or have any kind of thought. Let's say someone was born without empathy.
Right.
I would say fundamentally, somebody without empathy, but also had an addiction or tendency towards hurting others is unfortunately born evil.
See, that's not. I don't really do that definition of evil because there's too much that's not in the control of the person in that kind of situation.
Okay.
So if it's a conscious act, if it's a conscious intention, it would have to be in the control of the person because that's what a
Hmm.
conscious act and intention
Okay.
is.
So if we were ruling out any mental illness that I just described, that would kind of rule out any conscious intention. Let's say we put that on the side burner for now. And then we just focused on anyone who had no real mental illness per se, I guess. Because I think that being evil is essentially a mental illness at the end of the day, and can be treated by, if medication didn't work or any kind of treatment didn't work for them, then they should be removed from the innocent public. And I think that's why most societies in the world have, detention centers or, prisons and mental facilities and stuff like that. Like, facilities to keep them apart from the average, I guess, civilian population.
Yeah, but you also find that sociopaths and psychopaths tend to be the people that are senior managers in big companies and tend to be like the ruling people in the government or whatever. So if we're talking about
But it doesn't make them evil.
no, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that those people, they might be psychopathic or sociopathic, but I'm not saying that they're evil. I mean, a psychopath can be a CEO and then retire and then live in Florida and then die in a hospice and never do an evil thing to another human being intentionally. Like sometimes we are driving down the road and we accidentally cut someone off, or maybe we do it on purpose, but because we're in a hurry or we're a bad driver or whatever, but like if I went outside and said, I want to hurt an innocent creature. And let's say I went onto someone's property and took their dog and ripped its limbs off. That would be evil.
Yes, kind of, yeah, but it's psychopathic.
Well, that's assumption though. That's an assumption right there, isn't it? Now, what I'm trying to say is judgments and assumptions can work in our favor. I think that God gave us those tools for discernment.
Yeah, to an extent. I think I don't see. I don't know the answer to any of these questions. I'm just kind of working this out as I go.
We can only make educated guesses, right?
Yeah,
Would you let your 2-year-old run around in your neighbor's yard that had a pit bull that you weren't familiar with? And why not? Because I wouldn't think that you would you?
not if I was unfamiliar with the dog. I'd probably not anyway because
Exactly.
2 year old is too young. But
Exactly, because dogs are powerful. So, you know, and they're animals. We don't fully understand them. We couldn't. How could we? You know,
but a pit
and
bull isn't evil.
No, I didn't say it, but it would be evil to put a 2-year-old in an arena alone with a pit bull, wouldn't it be?
No, it would be a mistake. It wouldn't necessarily be evil.
Okay, it would be evil in the fact that someone would think it would be okay to put a 2-year-old, like evil would be present in that moment.
No,
If anyone would think it's okay to put a 2-year-old with an unfamiliar pit bull in an arena by themselves, like,
it's just a misunderstanding of the situation. It's a very serious misunderstanding of the situation, but it's not inherently evil.
well, I think being that stupid would be evil in itself, personally.
No, not being stupid. It's just being stupid.
Yeah, well, I think that evil would have some kind of play in this. Just like,
Right.
if your child was running around your home that you're very familiar with and everyone's been living there for years or whatever, and your child just happened to trip and fall at just the right angle to where their head hits the corner of your coffee table and they die. Like there's evil amidst, you know? It's like bad timing or bad, it's like the opposite of divine. You know what I mean? There's evil, there's good things that happen, there's bad things that happen. And I think that there's goodness in the world and there's luck and then there's bad luck. I think that luck falls under the category of good and bad luck falls under the category of evil.
See, I don't do the evil category at all. I would say that's a misreading of the situation. It's a misunderstanding of the capability of a 2-year-old. It's a misunderstanding. But it's not.
Okay, how about this? Okay, so you see a woman being raped, right?
Yeah.
And she's being raped by your friends, and your friends say, "Okay, come on, it's your turn." So you have a turn in raping this woman. That's evil. I think that's a really good instance, for instance, like example of what an evil mindset would be like. Your choice to partake in that would be evil.
It's a bad choice. Guaranteed.
But you don't think that that's evil?
No, I don't think that's evil. I think it's human behavior. Because people do get raped. Oh, have I lost you? I think I've lost Saba. It was a very good discussion. So if you want to call in again, Saba, you're welcome to. Rocky Raccoon's saying anyone can be evil without realizing it. I don't do that definition of evil, Rocky Raccoon. I think I'm going to have to get rid of Saba so she can call in again. I don't know how to do it though. So to me, it's the absence of good or ignorance or misunderstanding or inappropriate human behavior, unhelpful human behavior, whatever you want to call it. I don't call that evil. I think evil's too strong a word for it. Right. What I might do is close the room and come back. I think Saba might have gone. What I'll do is I'll close the room and come back, and then we'll get another couple of hours. And if she wants to come back in, we can have continue the conversation or talk about something else or whatever. Because it was a good conversation. I appreciate the conversation very much. So I'll do that. So please come back if you want to, and anybody who wants to come in and have a conversation is welcome.